If you think piano is too hard to understand, if you've taken piano lessons before, if you've never touched a piano, I can save you some time, I can save you some money and frustration. 8 lessons I learned from 10 years of researching how to make piano easier to play. Check it out. The very first thing I learned from researching how to make piano easier to understand is why piano is so difficult to understand. That is the very first thing I learned. And what I came to find is that piano lessons are very complicated. And what we're asking the average normal person to do is far beyond most people are willing to commit to doing. See, piano lessons work for a very small percentage. 20% of the people that take piano lessons actually come out on the other side able to play piano. The other 80% quit before they reach the point of learning how to play piano. The reason for that is the structure of piano lessons. Your brain and your body are having to go through some very serious, complex interactions. Your brain has to read sheet music at a very rapid pace and quickly communicate to your fingers and your hands and the rest of your body exactly what that musical notation is telling you to do. And as you do that, you're having to read ahead of the musical notation and process that information so that you can play music in a seamless way. In addition to that, oftentimes your left hand is being asked to do something that your right hand is doing the exact opposite of. Maybe you're being asked to play different piano keys, or you're asked to play at a different pace with your left or your right hand. This is not an easy task. It causes your mind to really have to concentrate, and that's not easy to do these days. Many people have also noticed that the piano is not a very forgiving instrument. You play a wrong key, quote unquote, a wrong key, and it's going to stand out unless you know how to hide it. And so it's for this reason that piano for many people is very confusing and very complex. They feel out of sorts, discomfort, and out of control with the whole situation. Point number 2 exacerbates the problem, because what I came to find out is that piano lessons are too rigid. Typical piano lessons are too strict for the average person to actually learn piano. So a lot of times when a piano student quits, the piano teacher will blame the piano student will blame the piano teacher, so you're in a finger pointing match. But the bottom line is the piano lessons don't work, no matter whose fault it is. The strict nature of the piano lessons are just too much for the average person. And this is the core reason why 80% of the people that take piano lessons end up quitting in the first year. Let's face it, it's a fact. For most people, piano lessons, what it requires of us, it's too rigid, it's too strict. And there's nothing wrong with that in the proper setting for the proper people. But as I stated earlier, most people do not have enough time to commit to the strict, rigid nature of piano lessons. Point number 3, adults don't have time for piano lessons. Now, take this from a person that took piano lessons as a child, in my teenage years, as an adult in my 20s and 30s. Look, when you get out of high school, you got too many competing obligations, whether it's friendships, whether it's other chores, duties, responsibilities, work, school. It's all too much for what piano lessons require. So if you're not strictly committed to all the rigid nature and the strict nature of the practice of piano lessons, it's too much for an adult. Your bills will supersede any necessity that you have to sit down from your piano teacher to practice or play piano for a recital. It's just going to happen. Adults don't have time for typical piano lessons. Facts. Point number 4, most people don't really want to study piano. They want to play piano. See, this was something that was a breakthrough moment for me when I actually realized that I was taking all these piano lessons, and I asked myself, you know what? I don't want to study piano. I'm not trying to be a piano genius or a piano expert. I just want to play music. I want to rock out. I want to play in a band. I want to make some music and record it. See, most people are just like me, but when they get in that piano lesson setting, they're studying. It's 90% studying and maybe 10% enjoyment. And that just doesn't cut it for most people, because they want to do what I want to do. They want to get right to the gold pot. They want to play some nice music on piano to impress their friends or family, or just to relax. The really did take me a while to come to this realization. In fact, I break my journey through learning piano and playing piano into 3 phases. Phase number 1, I went through hating myself for not understanding piano. That was the first phase. Phase number 2, I went to hating piano, so I took it out on the instrument. Phase number 3 was a mixture of both, because I hated myself for not understanding how to play piano, and I hated piano at the same time. Those are the 3 phases I went through before I finally realized that it wasn't piano that was the problem, and it wasn't me that was the problem. It was the structure of the piano lessons that was the problem. Point number 5, and you'll relate to this, ex-piano students never, ever, ever stop wanting to learn piano. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. If you ever wanted to play piano and you ever dabbled in it, you ever experimented, took a lesson, it stays in you. You hear a song on the radio and you want to go play it. You'll notice that people, just like myself, we take piano lessons over and over and over. So when we get it in our minds and our bodies and our souls that we want to play piano, it's something that stays within us forever. Point number 6, piano lessons need to be more visual. Forget this black and white writing on paper with lines and charts and diagrams. Forget that stuff. What would it hurt to throw in a little color to the sheet music that has symbolic meaning to the person trying to play piano, to make it easier to remember the patterns of music? While we're at it, why not break down music theory into an easier format for average, ordinary people like you and me? Do you actually think that if we could make piano easier to understand for average people, more people might actually stick around with piano lessons? Ponder that thought for a minute. But this leads me directly to my next point. Point number 7. To make piano easier to understand, somebody has to make piano easier to understand. I'm sick and I'm tired of people doing the same thing. You know, they say you learn to read sheet music from a piano teacher. You buy books that talk about music theory. You buy courses. But in the end, it's all an assemblage of the same thing. It's just reformatted in another way. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. For those that don't know, I took piano lessons 5 times. And yes, I quit piano lessons 5 times, and I'm proud of it. Because when I finally had a breakthrough moment and the light bulbs went off for me, I made a vow that I would not teach piano the typical way. And the reason I did that is because I've seen so many casualties, so many piano student casualties. People that have fallen by the wayside. They think piano is crazy. They think piano teachers don't care about them, when I know they do, but the piano teachers just don't know how to connect to the average person. And that's why they're so structured. So when I finally had my breakthrough and the light bulbs came on that helped me to learn how to play piano, I vowed to myself that I would never teach piano the same way. So you'll never hear me talking about open up your sheet music. It doesn't mean anything to me in my teaching. My methods have to be simpler, because somebody has to stand up and do something different, and you're looking at the guy that is doing it right now. Last point is just as profound as point number 8. After 10 years of researching how to make piano easier to understand, point number 8, I learned that piano is a beautiful instrument. And when I say that, I mean it's absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. And my appreciation after 10 years of experimenting and researching, it led me to that point because I listened to so many pieces of music, whether it's classical or modern music or standard, and it just led me to the realization of just how beautiful piano is. It can jerk your emotions from joy to happiness in just a slight variation of pace. That as you play piano, you can express your emotions, you can communicate beauty or anger, any emotion. So piano is a very beautiful instrument, which is why it's so sought after by so many people that want to learn. 10 years of researching how to make piano easier to play, and here's my final word on this. Don't fall victim to an empty promise of a piano lesson that will get you nowhere. There's a place for piano lessons. If you go on my website, controlshiftpiano.com, you'll see several articles, because there is a place for traditional piano lessons. But The research shows that for most people, piano lessons do not work. So the final word is, let's accept the facts and let's move on. Piano is a beautiful instrument that you deserve to be able to play, so you should definitely pursue it, but also consider not going down the path that leads to failure. Consider doing something new. Subscribe to this channel if you can relate to any of the 8 points that I brought out here. If you have more points that you want to bring out about making piano lessons easier to understand, comment in the bottom section. Otherwise, subscribe to this channel because there's more information coming real soon. See you later. Peace.